Welcome to Retro ReWire. My name is JJ. We are in Ashikaga, Gunma, Japan. We're gonna check out some fireworks, some food, have a few drinks, but we're also gonna be doing some retro game hunting, and we're gonna be at the local book op. So let's see what kind of retro treasures this place has in store. So come on, let's go inside. All right, y'all, this initial area had a pretty good selection. Now, condition and pricing, I'll leave that up to you guys. But as you can see here, we have a pocket color, 2,000 yen off. Behind that, 1,000 yen off on the original Game Boy. We got a pocket color for 7,200 yen, which I love this color. And then we have Area 88 for 6,800 yen. Now behind that, we're gonna see A Link to the Past with a 200 yen discount. So that's gonna be at 3,000 yen because it is a little bit in rough condition. Below that, we have Gundam Wing Endless Duel for 6,300 yen. We have Super Street Fighter 2 for 1,800. Now Gundam Wing, it is sun faded and it does have a big scratch on the cover, which is a shame, as I want to add that to the collection. Here we have a PS2 fighter, KOF. We have Facile, 4,500 yen. I don't know too much about this one, but I believe it's a role-playing game. And speaking of role-playing games, here we have for the PS3 an action RPG, Dungeons and Dragons, 8,455, and it's more of a beat 'em up really. But we have Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and then next to that we have Kazekiri Ninja Action, 19,000 yen. Dracula X behind it for 22,000, and behind that we have High Lake Fantasy for 24,000 yen. So we have some heavy hitters there. We have 2001 Seaman for 3,600 yen, which I haven't heard of that one before or seen it. And then we have Sturmwind. This is going to be a shooter for 8,910. And then look at all these copies of Bonk for the PC Engine coming in at 6,300 yen. Here we have Burning Fight for 8,100. Behind that we have Sengoku for 10,000 yen. And then Sin and Punishment, 9,000 yen. Now the box does have some damage, but it does include the manual. And then here we have some PSP titles. We have Persona 2. I'm not sure what this one is, but I believe this one is also on the PlayStation 2. So definitely interesting to see that one again. We have Donkey Kong 64 for 5,819. And then we have the Three Wonders for the Sega Saturn. And let me tell you, the Saturn selection here was on point. That's right, 20,000 yen for Street Fighter 03. And then we have a number of shooters. We have Layer Section 2 for 5,400. We have Parodius there for 6,300. Two copies of Sonic Wing Special for 5,900, with the one in the back having a small 200 yen discount. So a pretty good selection there. And then Thunder Force 5 for 6,800 yen. And what else do we have? We have Dynasty Warriors 2. We have Street Racer for 3,600 yen. We have another copy of the Three Wonders for the same price, and that one's in far, far better condition. Here we have the Eurasian Conflict, I believe. We have Die Hard Arcade. And look at this.
Fire!
Fire indeed. And we have Final Fight Revenge there. And I gotta say, that one, if you find it with the 4MB RAM card, it's gonna be close to 40,000 yen. Here we have Toa Plan Shooting Battle Volume 1 for 11,000. We have some Macross action for the PlayStation 1, which I do like that port actually. And then behind us, we have a case with a lot of figures, which they did have a number of figures, a lot of books, a lot of soundtracks, quite a bit of stuff. But we're gonna focus on games. We got this PSP Go for 20,910. Behind that, we have the converter cable adapter. And then we have this Naruto Game Boy Advance SP for 15,273. Now the monitor there for the PS1 was over almost, well, after tax, it was over 40,000. We have Zelda Twilight Princess HD for 9,091 yen. Look at all these amiibos, but you know what? Forget about the amiibos. Toys R Us, N64, 15,437 before sales tax. I had no idea that this was a thing. It has the little mascot there. What's his name? Jeffrey? But that thing looks really clean. But anyhow, let's head into the aisle. And my God, we've seen so much. But now, actually, you know what? Before we do a deep dive, I want to show you guys what you're getting yourself into. And this is one of the stations here. And the book off just kind of sits in the middle between two stations in Ashikaga. Now, this one is going to be definitely a little bit removed in the sense that it's I guess more country style looking, but it's Tobu Izumi Station East. And you know, me being a country kid from the States, that's why I decided to get off here, just because it's the road less traveled, with the other station kind of being closer to the downtown area. All right, guys, so we're gonna take a look at the aisle. We got the modern stuff here, all the retro stuff, and there's a lot of good deals here, as you will see here. Like this, definitely gonna pick this one up. This is one that I've been wanting for quite some time, and at 900. In fact, I'm gonna hold on to that right now. Let's go down this way. And this thing is gonna be huge right here. A laser disc with Mega CD, Mega Drive, coming in at 133,637 before sales tax. This is the first time I've ever seen this Pioneer. What's the model number? R1Z? Or here we go. CLD A100. First time to ever see something like this. So this is like super, super rare. Definitely cool to see this thing. Now, I have read about it online and I've seen it in other YouTube videos, but the first time to actually see it in store. And as you can see here, those are all the connections, which I wonder if the digital out has full functionality for like the Mega Drive portions of this machine. But man, that thing was actually really mean looking. But here we have our PlayStation 5s, and they had quite a bit of hardware here, with the most modern to Mega Drive 2. Now look at this. 6,300 yen for the Mega Drive 2, 13,000 for the Mega CD 2. Now in contrast, at the Super Potato and Ikebukuro, just for the Mega CD 2, 32,000 and some change. So this is definitely going to be a little bit of a savings here, quite a bit of savings actually, and this is another one coming in at the same price. So definitely nice to see those. Up above that, we have an Atomic Purple N64, 10,000 yen, but unfortunately the little expansion bay cover is not the original. We got a fantastic N64, and it looks a little bit sun faded in the bottom to me, but 9,091 yen, so not too bad of a price. We got a top loader NES or Famicom for 8,637. Next to that, we have a PC Engine. We have two of them actually, and both of them are equipped with the AV booster, and both are at 9,091 yen. And this AV booster is actually a first party accessory there. Look at that. It's the P1AD2 AV booster, and that's going to give you composite out. Here we have the interface unit with the ROM attachment, or CD interface, whatever you want to call it. We got the Power Glove coming in at 10,000 yen, which is going to be roughly what we saw in Ikebukuro at the pop-up hard off. So you're not going to be saving too much money if you're after a Power Glove by coming out here. Now up above, we have the Duo R, and this thing, look at this. It's almost 40,000 yen, coming in at 36,273, 9,000 yen here and some change for the Mega Drive in the box. And look at how clean this Dreamcast looks. Now the reflections kind of make it hard to judge like the real condition, but that thing was really mean looking. We have some 3DOs, and then we have the maracas, and here we are with the controllers and a few accessories like this Game Boy player at 7,255. We got the RE5 Move bundle for 4,500 yen, and then we have the Dreamcast Millennium controller for 3,482, and then we have the Sanyo 3DO pad for 2,710. And then we have, what is this, the multi-controller or the 3D pad for the Sega Saturn, coming in at 4,500 and some change. And then we have this Atomic N64 controller for 2,091 yen. That's actually not too bad of a price, although it does have a few labels. And then here we have the little micro Hori N64 controller, and they have a variety of colors there for these. And then we got a GameCube controller, the Spice Orange, for 2,700 yen. Now let's go ahead and check out some games here. And as you can see, we have a few, quite a bit of them in the box. We got Super Famicom, 1,800 yen for a Chrono Trigger, and they had two copies. And then 1080 Snowboarding for 480 yen, and this copy looks actually fairly clean. So that's a pretty good deal there. Now we're going to make our way here. We got PlayStation Vita, we got PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2. We got this Darius Burst, which is actually a pretty good port. We got Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, the Collector's Edition. And what else do we have here? Well, actually, I'm just going to comb over certain areas just to give you a scope of the inventory that they have here, because you're going to be, if you come here, you can spend quite a bit of time. I know I did. And when I was actually up here, it was across 2 days because, you know, with the whole fireworks show, it just makes more sense, especially because this small town gets super, super busy. But here we have Game Boy Advance, we have Wario Land, and a few more Game Boy Advance titles in the box. And next to that, there's going to be a number of disk system games. Look at all that. And I didn't do too much of a deep dive on the disk system games, but below that we have Sega Saturn titles, a lot of first party stuff. And some pretty good third-party titles as well, like Street Fighter 02. We have Sonic Jam for 2,700 yen, which is more in line with what you'll see in Tokyo as well. 2,700 for Darius 2. They also had Gaiden. We have 1,500 for Samurai Showdown 4. 2,700 yen for that initial D. And then we have another copy of Gun Griffin for 480 yen. That's actually not too bad of a price there. And what else do we have? We have some PC Engine titles. I'm only going to show one, which is going to be Snatcher here for 2,700 yen before sales tax. And then we have our Neo Geo CD titles, with most of them coming in at 480 yen, at least in this area. And look at this, Madden NFL Football. This is going to be the first release for 2,700. We have Makaimura, the red reamer there. And then we have this Game Boy Advance Lite for 2,728, and that one was a little bit tempting. But look, we had the discs for the Game Boy player. We got the broadband adapter for 6,346, a Super Game Boy in the box for 710 yen. And look at all these 4MB RAM cards, all at the same price at 2,728, 3,200 for the Fireman. And then here we have Battletoads for 7,200 yen. And then PS1 titles, they had plenty of that. And they also had some Dreamcast titles, not too much of the Dreamcast, but you know, Capcom vs. SNK 1 and 2. We have X3 there for 2,900 yen, and that one is severely sun-faded. We have Rockman 8 for 1,500, and then a copy of Biohazard 3 for 464 yen. Now here's their top 10, which is kind of interesting. We have Tales of Arise at 7. We got this Yakuza game at 6. We got EDF at number 4. And then at number 1, of course, Elden Ring. Well deserved. I'm currently playing through that one. Now, for the Switch top 10, most of it is going to be like first-party titles, with the exception of that Konami title there at number 7. But yeah, the Nintendo stuff is just dominating. My goodness, look at this. Splatoon 3, Breath of the Wild at number 2, and Tears of the Kingdom at number 1. That's right, showcase time. Here we go. Now, there was some interesting stuff in here, and some stuff was actually, in regard to its price, it was up there, especially considering that it's a book off of all things. But 13,000 for the Neo Geo CD front loader, only includes one controller and no box. We got the Sanyo Tri as well as the FZ1, and they also had them in the box. And then we had this we got a Game Boy Pocket for 6,819. And the Game Boy itself was actually a little bit rough, because I did ask to take a look at that. And speaking of rough, look at the spines on these Mega Drive games. It's a shame. I'm thinking that these came from like a Showa era type of store. Maybe the person retired and sold all the games that were left over, but severely sun-faded. Here we have a PC Engine GT. We got Nano Stray 2 for 10,000 yen, and that's the North American edition. Didn't expect to see that one. Now the GT was actually over 40,000, and it did have some sound issues, unfortunately. But look at this, we have Onimusha for the Game Boy Advance. I had no idea that got a release there. But we have Mother 1 and 2. What else do we have? We have Akumajo Densetsu for 14,000, and then 3 Wonders for the PlayStation 1. So they had quite a bit of 3 Wonders. Here we have the Shinobi GG for 10,455. Has a little bit of a label, but look at all this Fire Emblem stuff for the GameCube and the Famicom, and one of them coming in at 60,000 yen. My goodness, that's super expensive. But we have Outrun for 6,800 yen for the Sega Saturn. What else do we have here? We got the arcade card for the PC Engine for 13,000, which is the same as the Neo Geo CD front loader. We got some Super Famicom titles here, and then we got some Neo Geo titles with both King of Monsters Part 1 and 2. And unfortunately, these ones, again, severely sun-faded. And look at this Kirby DVD, 70,000 yen. What's that about? I have no idea. Now we have the Mario 64 soundtrack coming in at 14,000, and then Mario Kart Wii soundtrack coming in at 7,000 and some change. And then they also had, what is that? Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, and then some more Super Famicom titles. So quite a bit of it. Well, I would say it's an impressive selection, and definitely a lot to think about. And you know how it goes, at least here on Retro ReWire. I don't like to make any rash decisions, especially on an empty stomach. We're gonna hit up the Yakiniku and look at all this delicious meat. And it's not just all meat, but You know, when we're eating here, we think about what we saw, what we experienced, and we don't want to make these decisions on an empty stomach because we might regret these things. Look at all this great food, and especially this ramen, this cold noodle. I absolutely love it. And this is actually more Korean than it is Japanese, but lo and behold, the Neo Geo CD front loader came home, as well as Street Fighter 03 for 20,000. It ain't gonna get any cheaper than that. So that was the book off at Ashikaga. Now across the street, we're gonna head to the Wonder Goo. But before we get down at the Goo, we're gonna be, well, you know, like I mentioned before, I was here for 2 days, and that's gonna be because of this big show, this big event in Ashikaga, which is actually one of many events because they also have an illumination park that gets pretty good in the winter. But here in the summer, look at the Family Mart. It's just so packed. In fact, that's probably the busiest that I've ever seen a convenience store. But here we are. Cheers to all the viewers. Thank you for checking out Retro ReWire. Let's enjoy the show. And as things get darker, it's going to get... Actually, it's going to get... They're going to light up the sky here. Look at this. And this show lasted for 2 hours, and every minute of it was actually pretty exciting, pretty fun. And it was actually great to be out here amongst a lot of people. You know, since COVID, I haven't been to an event like this, so it was definitely, it hit the spot. Now what you're seeing here, I'm going to speed this up, but this one is called the Niagara Falls, and then this was towards the end. And as you can see, everybody's like, ooh, ah, including me. I was just kind of blown away by this. But then they just kind of launched like the swan song of the fireworks, and it just got lit, so to speak. You know, no pun intended there, but it was definitely a great time. So if you're thinking about coming out here, you should plan around the summer. Although be careful because it is super hot. But this show is definitely, I would say it's definitely worth it. Now after the show, it was just kind of chaos to get out of here. And the convenience store, look at that. There's even more people at this hour. Good luck trying to get in there. Let's go to Wonder Goo. So here we go. We got Wonder Rex, Wonder Goo. Now, this is kind of like, at least Wonder Rex is kind of like a hard-off equivalent, but this was more of like just kind of selling everything that was current gen, brand new stuff. As you can see, this aisle is all Switch accessories, and they had quite a bit, as well as like new and used systems there. But look at all these Splatoon 3 accessories. Look at that. That's a big game. I've never played it, but I hear a lot of good things about it. But it's always nice seeing like these newer displays. We got some Switch, we got PlayStation 4. In fact, let's check out the top 8 PlayStation 4 titles. We got EDF down at number 7. What else? We got some baseball action here at number 6. We got the Yakuza, at least I think it's a Yakuza game, at number 5. And then we got Tales of Arise at number 4. Can you guess number 1? We got Street Fighter 6 at 3. And then we got Ghost of Tsushima at 2. And Grand Theft Auto at number 1, part 5. I was actually kind of blown away by that one. That was kind of interesting to see. But with PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and for everything that was PlayStation, they had a lot more Nintendo. Here at this little screen, they're showing like the Metal Gear collection that's going to be coming out. We got Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Super Mario RPG, this new Wario game coming out, Pikmin 1 and 2. So quite a bit of re-releases. Look at that. Monster, what is that? I'm not really sure what that is, but the Master Collection. But look at all this Switch stuff. And if you're looking for new Switch games, well, new and used, they definitely had both of those, both new and used. Here we have the used hardware. And it's definitely worth coming in here because you never know what kind of deals you will find. And let me tell you, there's a few deals coming up. Now, this is like the small retro section, not a whole lot left. But we got PlayStation 2, PSP, PS3, and even some PlayStation Vita. And up above that, we have some N64 with a lot of Smash and Party. Look at this funky controller. We got some more Switch action here. We got the original model there for $25,990. They have some OLED models. And we're getting close to the goods here. But here we have a Wii U with a 2,000 yen discount. So that's going to be at about 10,000 yen. We got some Pokemon games for the old DS. Now this is not bad. The Minish Cap for $6,980. And the condition was actually fairly good on that one. They even have some Famicom titles. Look at that, Hector 87. We got Donkey Kong 64. We got Darius 2 for $2,980. And they had Symphony of the Night, which is actually less expensive here. It's coming in at $3,580. We got 2 SPs for $7,000 and $8,000 respectively. And we're getting to the goods. Believe me, it's coming. But yeah, not too bad of a price on the SPs there. And what do we have here? A Super Famicom Mini for 10,000 yen. We got a Neo Geo Mini. What else? And here we go. Look at this. 3,000 yen for a PlayStation Vita 2000. And this one is at 5,000. Now, the first one has a little bit of an issue with the little cartridge slot, but they are both working and they were in fairly good condition. Now, stuff like that doesn't last. I didn't pick those up because I blew my budget at the book off, but it was definitely awesome to see those there. And yeah, but pretty impressed actually by seeing those PS Vitas here. But anyhow, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and definitely more to come. Ciao.